United States has constantly been involved with affairs in Korea, whether it was from the Korean War to now what they're doing by choking off Korea's economy, forcing certain measures on them, and basically disappointing the Koreans. And understandably so, they're getting kind of ticked off at the United States. In fact, going as far as mobilizing their military and, in fact, testing nuclear bombs over the last couple months. And not only the United States, but several world powers are becoming interested, in fact, worried about this nuclear testing. And many wonder what can be done about this situation. So many pose the question, how aggressive should the United States be when dealing with North Korea? And what we need to see is the answer to this question is twofold. First, we can look at the fact that as much as it may be inviting, military aggressiveness should not be done at all. However, at the same time, diplomatic aggressiveness should be taken to a very high count. And when we do this, we'll eventually be able to bring peace between the United States and Korea. By looking at these two different measures, we can see how the only way to bring peace between the United States and Korea is. Over the past couple of years, the United States has been obviously involved in the war on Iraq, in which President Bush took the first initiative, throwing his troops into Iraq before doing anything else at the first sign of any kind of nuclear threat. And although this may have seemed as a good idea at the time, it's now causing some backlash among some of the citizens of the United States. And some wonder if it was even a good idea in the first place. However, with this nuclear threat in North Korea, many wonder if President Bush will try to take the same measures with this opposite country, another country that's obviously threatening the United States. However, what we need to realize is this military aggressiveness is not necessary at all. First, because the United States is not prepared to do this in any way, and secondly, because North Korea is gaining allies by the day. First of all, the United States is now preparing to mobilize its troops to a greater extent in Iraq. In fact, according to the Seattle Times of January 10, 2007, President Bush has now put forth his plan for 2007 of 21,500 troops that are going to be going to Iraq. Aside this, $1.2 billion will be spent on the war effort. Understandably so, many Democrats and general citizens of the United States don't agree with this policy at all and are basically going against President Bush's word. Now, they have a very valid point, as the United States isn't really prepared to do this in any way. They have nothing to supply the troops in this way. And military action in North Korea, as inviting as it may be, would simply stretch our troops farther from the point that we want them to be at and spread the United States out to an extent that they simply can't afford. Now, at the same time, North Korea is gaining allies of its own, as one of its greatest allies, China, is now becoming one of the world's elite in military technology. In fact, according to CNN of January 20th, 2007, China has now managed to create a weapon that can blow up satellites in space, shooting it off the ground. This is groundbreaking, as the only other countries that have been able to do this were the United States and Soviet Union in the Cold War. So if the United States got involved in military action against North Korea, they would have to deal with an enemy that is the exact same strength as them, not to mention a population that's over 4 times as much as the United States. Obviously, this military action could not only bring the United States and North Korea into war, but could enthrall the entire world in a cataclysmic crash that could basically destroy all of the world. So by looking at the fact that the United States is not prepared for any kind of other military action, and the fact that North Korea is gaining allies by the second, we can see how military aggressiveness, as inviting as it may be, is not the answer to the problem in North Korea. However, we do need to take some sort of aggressiveness in order to get the job done, in order to get peace around the world. And we can do this simply by taking diplomatic measures with North Korea. This is first because North Korea is inviting talks to come make peace. They're inviting peace efforts. And secondly, because North Korea's economy is falling apart. And if peace efforts press long enough, they will eventually be successful. First of all, according to the Korean Times of January 1st, 2007, the United States and North Korea have now started peace talks. Talks amongst themselves with China as a mediator, trying to figure things out amongst themselves diplomatically. And although these were failures in the first place, as they were expected to be, they're becoming more and more successful, as Korea keeps becoming willing to have these talks. Now, the only reason this is successful is because the United States is aggressive in this action. and it needs to continue to be to have success. Now, at the same time, the measures that the United States is putting on North Korea's economy are causing significant backlash in the North Korean economy. In fact, according to the Washington Post of December 28, 2006, Korea's economy is falling apart, and these diplomatic measures, if pressed long enough, will eventually bring a positive outcome, and Korea will be forced to surrender to the United States. So only through these diplomatic measures will we be able to have peace between the United States and North Korea. So today we posed the question, how aggressive should the United States be when dealing with North Korea? And we've seen how first, militarily, we must not be aggressive at all. However, we must take much aggression in being diplomatic towards North Korea, extending them a hand of peace. And when we do this, we'll be able to have success in this peace effort. Now, as easy as it may be to charge into North Korea and tell them to stop with our military force and our might as the United States, that's obviously not the answer. Instead, we have to be the better country, stepping towards them. And once the step is taken, we'll eventually have peace where peace was once not, and have success overall.